I want to take some time to talk to you all for a moment. We're not going to use any PowerPoints. We're not going to use any videos. I want to have a little chat with you. And I want to talk to you about some of the things that have happened in the past in LifeWave and where we're going in the future. Because it's so important that we have a roadmap, that we have a business plan for how we're going to get from where we are today to where we're going in the future. In 2006, we nearly went out of business. We were the victim of a credit card fraud scandal. There was a person that set up a fake position. They were using stolen credit cards that they had gotten from Russia, ordering product, earning commissions that they weren't entitled to, and by the time we detected that fraud, there was already about $1 million worth of product that had been shipped out, and we had paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in commissions. And at that time, we were a small company, and the effects were devastating. This happened in end of September, beginning of October of 2006, and by December of that year, we had lost 50% of our brand partners. And most people had thought LifeWave was never going to make that. It was about a week before Christmas. We had payroll coming up, and we didn't have any money to pay the staff. So I went into my bank account, and I emptied my bank account, and I put all of that money into the company so we could make payroll, and so that people wouldn't have to tell their families they didn't have any money for Christmas. And I didn't know how I was going to make payroll the next month. But I just kind of trusted, okay, well, if I can't make payroll the next month, at least I gave everybody a Christmas, and we can figure out what we're going to do. And fortunately, through divine intervention, the number of brand partners and customers that we had in the company was just enough to cover our monthly expenses. So we went this way for a number of months, each week not knowing how we were going to pay bills, not knowing if we were going to stabilize or not, or if we were going to continue down. And it was around March of 2007, and we had our corporate office in San Diego. And every Sunday, I would go for a walk on the beach. I'd take 3 hours to go for a walk on the beach and pray. And I would use that time to try to commune with God and say, I know this is what I'm supposed to do with my life, but I don't know how I'm supposed to get through this. And I kept hearing this message, well, it's in fire that gold is purified. And that I had to go through this challenge to deepen my faith in God and trust in God. And just keep being patient, being persistent, and try to push my way through it. So it was in March of 2007, and I came home on a Friday night, and there was a letter from the IRS. And I thought to myself, I don't know if I can take any more. And maybe what I'll do is I'll try to have a nice weekend, and I will open this letter on Monday. And then I thought, this is kind of silly. I got to man up on this, and whatever it is, I just have to deal with it. So I opened this letter from the IRS, and inside was a check for $163,000. And as it turned out, we had overpaid on our taxes the year before, and I wasn't aware of it. And so, in this case, God decided to use the IRS of all organizations to save this company. And so we budgeted that money, and it lasted through the end of the year. We were able to pay our vendors. Of course, commissions were always paid first. We were able to get through the year. I went 16 months without getting paid to get through that. But I believed in that this company was going to survive, and so I was willing to bet my life on it. And we got to the end of 2007, turning into 2008, and we started to have leaders in Europe show up that started to build the business. And in 2008, the sales were double of 2007. 2009, the sales were double of 2008. In 2010, they were double of 2009, and we were back on our way, and we were doing really well. So the message in all of this is that you're going to face challenges in your life. You're going to face hard times, but it's those moments where you find out who you really are. Are you really committed to your vision, to your dream? Are you willing to do what it takes to succeed? And when you come out the other side, you're grateful that you went through that, because it's like, I climbed this mountain and I made it to the top. And now I have the rest of my life in front of me, and it's going to be amazing. And then sometimes life throws you another curveball. And that happened 10 years later to the month. And it was 2016. We had been doing fine. We had tried a lot of different things to kind of break out. We were stuck between 20 million, 40 million a year, and we were stuck trying to find a way to break out of this. And in 2016, we did a product launch. We got about a week where everything was looking great. And then we implemented a new software program, a new back office system, and everything crashed. And we went for weeks where the system wasn't taking orders, it wasn't working properly. And by the middle of December, we were back where we were before, where we had lost about half the people in the company. And we turned into 2017, and I thought, okay, I lived through this before. And I thought this was maybe something karmic. You know, if you want to put a word on it, I don't know what else to word you would put on this. But why did this show up exactly 10 years later? And it's not going to happen again, by the way, because I took care of that. I'll tell you that story another day. But I thought, okay, I've been through this before. And having that experience in 2007 kind of made me battle-hardened to where psychologically I was in the place where, okay, I know to form a plan, I need to take action, I know what to do with the finances of the company, where we need to cut and save to survive. It was tough. It was really tough, but we were able to float along and survive. And I was going into work each day, and it was very stressful. You could feel the stress on the staff. And there came a point where I thought, I'm tired of being on defense. I'm tired of going into work and patching holes in the dam and trying to figure out how to survive. I want to be on offense. I want to have a way that we can get people excited about this company, but how is that going to happen? And we had been doing stem cell research at that point for almost 10 years, and we had put $4.5 million into research at that point, and we had some phenomenal experiences. We had a ton of patents. The problem was the technology that I had been developing was really more suitable for hospitals. This was something, as we found out later, that it was going to take maybe $100 million to get this through FDA, and they were never going to let the technology go over the counter. It would have had to have gone through hospitals. So it's like, okay, there's no way that we're going to get this ever into the network, but the amount of information that we've learned over this period of time, how can we go ahead and apply this in a way that people can benefit from it, people can use this, it will be safe, effective, affordable. How can we take this? This is a piece of equipment that potentially could cost millions of dollars. How exactly are we going to make this affordable and safe for everyone so a doctor doesn't have to prescribe it? So fortunately, I love Iron Man and Tony Stark. And Tony Stark, when he has a problem, he always goes into his lab, or he gets isolated into his cave, and he starts to invent. And that's what I did. And I went into my lab, and I went home, and I isolated myself, and I started digging through my notes and praying over this and looking for a flash of insight. That's kind of the way that it works with inventors, is that you are in an altered state of consciousness, you might say. It would be like when you're fasting for a very long period of time and your brain shifts into an entirely different state. It's kind of like that. And you get this burst that goes off in the brain, and there's this idea, and you can visualize it in your mind. You can see it clearly, and it resonates as truth. And it was at this moment that X-39 was born. And I could see it so clearly. And so I started getting to work, and I had to come up with an entirely new way of making the patches, something that I hadn't tried before. But I thought, okay, this is kind of the way that I see this, visualize it. This was the information that was downloaded, so let me go ahead and try to do this. And the first samples of X-39 came out. Started to test them in my lab. I said, okay, this is something special. This looks really, really good. And then, of course, we started to set up clinical studies. And I told my staff about it. And I said, I have this new patch, and we're going to go ahead and start putting together a program to manufacture, market this, do the clinical research, and this is what the patch will do. But I didn't want to tell them how the patch worked. I thought for a period of time, I want to keep this to myself. So they asked me, well, can you at least tell us the name of the patch? And I thought back to Marvel movies, and Infinity War had just come out. And I said, the name of the patch is Stormbreaker, because we were in a storm, and we needed something for us to get out of that storm. So we had a code name internally in our office of Stormbreaker. That's how we referred to this patch. And in June of 2018, we had our first webinar with leaders, and we had done clinical studies, we saw the outcomes, but now it was time to introduce this to the leaders. And you never really know how people are going to react to this concept. And I thought, I know I've been doing this stem cell thing for 10 years now, and I kind of get it, but are we going to be able to communicate that to the leaders? Are they going to really appreciate the potential significance of this? And of course, the rest, as they say, is history. The leaders were excited. But I want to point out Jan Wiegel for a second. I don't want to put him on the spot. But we had our leadership team, and we were seeing these incredible, it was August of 2018, we were seeing these incredible testimonials. And the leadership was saying, you could charge $300, $400 a month with this. No problem. People will pay it because it's worth that. And Jan said in our leadership group, if you want everyone to have it, if you want everyone to benefit, the right thing to do is make it affordable to everybody. It's worth more than the other patches, but charge an amount that everybody can afford. And this is why we work together as a team. And thank you, Jan, for that recommendation. It's obviously the right thing to do. We appreciate that. So undoubtedly, we're going to have challenges that we're going to face together in the years ahead. I don't think of LifeWave anymore as being a billion-dollar company. And I don't want the Merits here to get scared, because they're terrified right now. No, they're not. They're laughing, which is good. No, I actually think of LifeWave as doing tens of billions of dollars a year, because the goal of the company has shifted dramatically. Given that we've reached this level of success, I'd be the first one to tell you that have thought that we would be getting into manufacturing drones for humanitarian aid. I never would have thought we would have been building clean energy sources to power homes or power electric vehicles. But this is the path that we're being led down, and doors are opening up. So it must be the path that God has intended for us, because everything has just worked out incredibly well. And we're going to face challenges. And when we think about making plans in life, I think about the story of Gideon. So Gideon lived several thousand years ago. And to put this in context, at this time, the Israelites were in captivity. And they used to hear stories about Moses rescuing them, God delivering them, but they were living in captivity, and they were being oppressed by a group of people called the Midianites. And the Midianites had a huge army, 120,000, 130,000 people at least. And one day, God sent a prophet and an angel to speak with Gideon. Now, Gideon is a farmer, barley farmer. And the angel addresses Gideon and calls him a mighty man of valor. And for all you Bible believers, I'm going to paraphrase, because I didn't memorize this story. So I'm just going to paraphrase. And Gideon is thinking, you know, not only am I a lowly farmer, but I'm the lowest in my family. I'm not going to be delivering anybody. But God promises that if Gideon is faithful, he's going to deliver his people. So God says, well, I want you to do something. My people are worshiping a false god. They're worshiping Baal. So I want you to destroy that altar. And Gideon is really scared because he knows this is something that he could die doing, but he goes ahead and he does it anyway. And because he wants to listen to the Lord. So the people want to kill Gideon. And Gideon's father says, well, if Baal is so powerful, let him kill Gideon. And that's how he was saved. So the Midianites, their army approaches, 120,000, 130,000 people, and Gideon has to raise an army. So he raises an army of 32,000 people. So the odds are at least 4-1 against him. And God says, you know what, Gideon, if you go to battle and you win, you're going to think that your men were really good soldiers and that you were the ones that defeated the Midianites. So you have to know that it's me, the Lord, that's conquering the Midianites. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell your army, anybody that's scared, anybody that's afraid, go ahead and go home. And so 20,000 men go home. Now it's 12,000 against that 130,000. And then God says, you know what, Gideon? You still have too many people. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go down to the water, and I want you to ask your people to take a drink of water. And some of them are going to get down on their knees, and they're going to lap water into their mouths like a dog, and the others are going to scoop water into their mouth. I want you to separate people based on that. And you had 300 people on one side and the rest on the other. And he said, okay, tell those others to go home. You got an army now of 300 people. That's good. And so Gideon's pretty nervous at this point. So God says, look, what I want you to do is go down into the camp of the Midianites, and I want you to hear what they're saying. So he goes down in the middle of the night, and some people are waking up that have had dreams. They're all having the same dream, that they go to battle with Gideon and they lose, and they're delivered into the hands of Gideon. So they're terrified. So Gideon hears this, he goes back, and then God says, okay, you've got these ceramic jars. What I want you to do is break the jars, blow the trumpets, and yell. And they do that. And you can imagine when they're breaking these jars with their swords, it's going to sound like thousands of these jars are like thousands of swords. And they have 100 men in 3 different places surrounding the Midianites. So this sound must have been resonating all around the Midianites. So what happens is the Midianites, they wake up, they think that there's thousands and thousands of Gideon's men attacking. It's dark out, and Midianites are bumping into one another and killing who's ever next to them. We can have plans in life, but they're never going to be as good as God's plan. That day, God showed Gideon how 300 people could defeat an army of 130,000 people, and that's exactly what happened. This company is capable of accomplishing truly incredible things. I can tell you about all of the plans that I have for this company, the technology that we've been blessed with, what we're doing to support you with manufacturing and marketing. We can talk about all those things, but we're a company that's going to change the world, and we're going to make this world a better place. And this company is best served if we let God do the planning. Thank you.